Kate Milfalcha, welcome to Irish Granny Helen. Welcome to Nate of the Third Wish. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, well, I have stories for you. Did you find anything funny to talk
I
about?
do. I do.
Oh, go
I
for it.
found it. I actually have not one, but three very little one, including one that I know you will really like.
Okay,
I
okay.
found them on a magazine, online newspaper magazine. I don't know. Um, it's called the Shepherd Express, Milwaukee's alternative news source.
Oh, okay.
And there was three little stories on the edition that I looked at, just came across for the week of March 20th. So those are a little old, but they're still kind of interesting to talk about. So three little stories. Um, the first one, they mentioned that a gentleman named Mark Jaisley, a council member in Book, Switzerland, was fined $7,390 after he purchased a pink plastic water pistol for his godchildren. Pink plastic water pistol. The Associated Press reported that on March 11. Doing so, he violated the country's weapons law, the prosecutor said. They ruled that even though the pistols were imitations, they could be confused for real firearms due to their appearance. And those
Pink?
were pink plastic water pistol, and he had to pay $7,000.
7,000?
Yes, dollars as a fine because it was could be considered a weapon.
So my comment would be follow the money. Whose pocket is that going into?
Well, the council, the city,
It's a money making thing.
and
That's
and
ridiculous.
it's ridiculous. Another story is that at a German soccer match on February 23rd, the game was abruptly cancelled after an unexpected incident happened on the field. The referee was checking players' IDs at the time that they were warming up, and a child of a player came closer and closer and closer, and suddenly gave a sharp bite into the referee's private parts, and the game couldn't be started. And so the game had to be rescheduled for later in the season.
6 to 8 weeks.
And then finally, this is last not least because you're gonna love this one. Love this one.
Oh, okay.
It's about the top secret comedy club in London. So it seems like it's a like a regular comedy club, but it's called
Yeah.
the top secret. And they have to change their rules of admissions for people to come in. They decided that they will no longer admit audience members who have received Botox injections. They had numerous complaints from the performers who find it increasingly challenging to get audience engagement and understand their reactions since audience had the Botox injection
There'll be nobody in the audience.
having reaction. And they're saying that comedy thrives on connection and facial expression, and frozen faces from Botox impacts the entire atmosphere in the club. Show attendees need to be submit an expression check at the door.
That was my question. How would they know?
An expression check will be
What if,
requested
and
at the door.
okay, I'm being serious now, okay? And I'm not being judgmental. I'm just saying this is a reality that they ought to think about. What about people who are autistic, who have problems with social engagement. Maybe they wouldn't, well, they have a sense of humor. Of course they would go to a club. How would they tell? How do you know? It's very subjective.
Well, it is, but there's an expression check at the door, and if you're not able to have an expression, then you can't go to the top secret comedy club in London.
Well, who decides that it's an appropriate expression?
Well, the people at the check-in as you come into the club,
This is
there's
bizarre, isn't it?
it is
Bizarre.
bizarre. It is
Yeah.
very bizarre, but it is just so funny. And there were complaints from the comedians that there were just too many people frozen. So,
You know, I've been watching a show because I want to inform myself about what happens in the show, because I listen to a podcast that makes fun of shows. And this is the show they've chosen to make fun of next. So I have to know what they're making fun of, right? The jokes will be lost on me if I
yes.
don't watch the show. And I've resisted watching this because it just doesn't appeal to me on many, many levels. Well, it's like being an anthropologist and being in a foreign
Yeah.
culture. It is so weird. It's called The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. So, all other possible topics aside, we're looking at a group of, not even friends because they're always carping against each other behind each other's backs, but a group of young women who know each other, who apparently do something on TikTok, which I'm not clear what it is. They show every once in a while them recording, and they're hopping around. They're just doing like fake dances. So I don't know what the appeal is, but they're loosely friends. We'll use the term friends, advisedly. But they all look like they came out of the same factory. They wear the same clothes. They style their hair identically. They all have longish hair that they do in these ringlets, that are in style right now. Everybody looks like an 11-year-old. And they all very openly, I mean, they're not pretending, they openly discuss the filler and Botox and stuff that they get done. You see them going together to have it done. It's not a secret. But these are young, attractive women. They're all in their mid to late 20s, roughly. They don't need fixing. They're not broken, they don't have wrinkles, they don't have anything, but they need to conform to this sort of
Um,
plastic, expressionless look. It's so weird, Nate. I don't know. Do you understand it?
well, I know it. I don't quite understand it, but I know it's common. I've heard
Yeah.
also. I watch shows, real estate shows, and they had like open house, and to make sure that it was in Hollywood, open houses of multi-billion-dollar houses, and to make sure that people would come to the open house, they would do Botox at the open house.
Without a doctor there or
Oh,
anything?
well, you have obviously a nurse who does that, who is qualified, but now it's kind of done more kind of socially,
Do
supposedly.
people know what they're doing, what they're putting into their faces? Botox it's botulinum toxin. It's the poison put out by the botulism organism, microorganism. It's a bug, not a insect bug, like a microbe, and it's anaerobic. It grows without air, without oxygen, and they are putting this poison into them. It's what kills people when they open a can of home canned beans and it hasn't been done right, and they all die from eating the beans. Because it grows in that airtight can, and it will kill you. And how it kills you is it paralyzes your breathing. And when you get Botox in your face, it can affect your swallowing. It can paralyze your swallowing. It can paralyze your breathing. Is it really worth it? And then the filler, that they put in their lips so everybody looks like some kind of weird species of fish, you know, it drives me nuts.
Like
That
Jeff
stuff,
Bezos' wife, like Jeff Bezos' wife.
oh my God, where to start? That stuff can move around and it can cause a clot and give you a stroke or a heart attack. Or it can cause what's called necrosis, which it can block blood flow to another part of your face and it'll die, rot right
Ew.
off the bone. What is wrong with people? Oh my God, I don't understand.
Well, obviously, that would, if people knew that you couldn't go to the comedy club, maybe that would be one reason not to do it.
That's very strange. The whole thing
Those
from the
news
beginning.
are, yeah, those news I thought were very, very odd. That's a good source of little stories for
Yeah,
next
it's a
time.
very good source. We've come a long way from the days of Monty Python
Yeah,
in England, right?
yes.
Oh my God. Okay, so mine are not nearly as funny, but they're kind of interesting. I thought you'd like this one. You know how I'm always complaining. Well, I'm always complaining, but always complaining about people on their phone all the time.
Yes.
So apparently, it's not a problem to be in public and to be on your phone, which I think is very rude. But now the people that are on their phone are offended that other people try to see what's on the screen.
Oh my God.
So now they've invented these things called screen protectors to give you privacy that people can't see. And I don't know how you can look at it and still see, but other people looking over your shoulder or, sideways are not able to see. But apparently that's how it works. And it just seems pointless, stupid.
So, for example, would you find it rude? Let's say someone goes to the doctor's office and then you wait in the waiting room, and sometimes the wait can be very long. That's common. So, if someone is waiting on their phone, do you consider that rude? I don't consider that rude.
I consider it sad.
Well, that's different.
Yeah. I think it's rude if you're in a public place and you're talking. People
Yes.
are talking on the phone while they're walking along, and I always takes me by surprise. I'll go on a walk, and a neighbor will be walking by, and they're whoa, 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 and I'll say, "Pardon," and oh no, I'm on the phone. Well, if you're on the phone, go do it somewhere private. Um, I don't want to hear, what you're buying at the grocery store for dinner tonight. I think it's rude to impose into a public space.
Yes, I
I think it's
agree.
sad that people don't read books anymore. I always bring a book with me. Or if I don't bring a book, I'm usually listening to a book. So I
Hmm.
will, because they no longer make iPods, I had no choice but to capitulate and use my phone. But I have books downloaded on there and I'll have earphones in, but I don't interact with them publicly. It's in my pocket and I'm just sitting listening. But I think it's sad that people don't read books anymore. I find that really painful. It's a
But
personal.
when they're on their phone, they could be reading a book.
Yeah, right.
Well,
They're speed reading.
they
You're right.
could. No,
You're
I
just
think
being
some of
nice.
them do. So this is the funny part. When I inch over and look at what they're reading, then I see it's a book.
So, how do you feel about these new screen protectors?
I have no problem people knowing what I do on my phone. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm wondering, what are you doing that you're afraid people are going to find out
Yes,
about?
exactly. That's my point. If I'm responding to emails, if I'm reading an article, if I'm watching the news, what do I have to hide?
Well, I think the argument was if you have private information on the screen, like maybe you're buying something and your credit card number. It takes me 20 minutes to focus my eyeballs. So I would, it's just bizarre. It's a really, I'm old, and while we're on the subject, Nate, get off my lawn. Okay. So you kind of touched on this earlier. You'll understand what I'm referring to when I mention this. They just did a study of like how, when you have a career, what jobs pay the best. And the article was intended to be good advice for people going to college. What should you study so that you'll make money? Now, I think there's another argument. Is college really meant so you can make money, or is college meant to educate you? But that's a different argument. So picking out a major to get the right career, what makes the best money? Can you guess?
Science, engineering, data, IT.
Did you read this article? The three top: engineering. 8 out of the 10 best paying jobs are in engineering. And then the next two categories are physics and computer science. Well, that leaves me 100% unemployable. There's just no way.
Because of the engineering.
Well, I couldn't even.
No, that was a joke.
I could barely spell engineering. I could not. It doesn't appeal to me.
No.
Physics, I won't even tell you how many times I flunked physics, but it's embarrassing. And then computer science, well, we all know.
There's no
Yeah.
comment there.
They did say that health careers can be good. I would argue some health careers can be good, but more and more hospitals are becoming corporations, and workers are having fewer and fewer powers within their job. So in a job that 40 years ago was maybe a nursing job or a physical therapist job in a hospital with unions, that would have been good, benefits and pay. That's becoming less and less common anymore. It's becoming corporate very much in healthcare. So what they're saying is this isn't really, it's not good, because better jobs are getting more money and fewer people are concentrating that money.
Yeah.
And as they get the money, they get more power. And so what it's doing, it's feeding the wage gap, and it's feeding the class system that we have in this country that nobody wants to admit we have, and that tiny percentage of people at the top with a ton of money are having more disproportional say over how government and society work because of the money. And the lowest paid, can you guess what the lowest paid majors are?
Teachers.
Yes. Education. 5 out of the 10 worst jobs in education are teaching. I mean, in any job, any major, are education related. And then this one I thought was funny, because this would be very close to my favorite: languages.
Yeah.
People just, computers will do it. Why should you bother?
Well, but all of this is changing with AI,
Mm-hmm.
anyways. All
Yeah.
of this, all
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah. It's time to die of old age. Now, you know what? You can either adapt or get left behind. Is being left behind a choice, or are you making yourself a victim of refusing to change? For me, it would be more of an active choice, because those are not my they're not my priorities, they're not my values,
Yeah.
I still think that you'd be much better off going to college and studying world literature,
Yeah.
and then get a license to do a plumbing or something to make money.
Or history and geography and economy.
Well, one of my daughters would have a long conversation with you about that. I really encouraged her to pursue her interest in history, and she did. She I have to brag a little bit. She got a really good scholarship to a very small school in classics, which is so useful. and and when she was done, she had no idea what she was going to do, because what are you going to do with that? So she went on and got her master's in some weird, like, women's history of the 19th century, something. I think that totally useful. And she's got a good job now, but it has absolutely nothing to
Nothing to
do.
do with it.
No, and she started as a part-time assistant aide getting coffee. So she's worked her way up. But education doesn't necessarily mean a
Means
job. Should it? That's the question. What's the purpose of education? We'll debate that someday. I have
yeah,
opinions,
yeah.
because I have no opinions about anything. And you need to push back, because you do a good job of it. No, you're too nice. You're too nice. You just let me run on, because I know you have opinions. After all, you were in business and you do a lot of computer stuff, right?
I do. I do.
Yeah. Yeah. You're very good at it. It's impressive. So,
Well, I like playing with it and figuring stuff on my own, even though it can be frustrating.
yeah. And which I think is kind of interesting for a Taurus,
Yeah,
because they don't usually, like, I have zero patience for it. That's more
I
typically a
don't have a
Taurus.
lot of patience, but
Mm.
I'm like with this technology stuff, it can if I can't go this way, I'll go that way. I'm creative. So I'll find loopholes, or I find other ways, or like a lot of stuff recently I've done. I know it's not probably how you're supposed to do textbook, but it works. And that's
See, I
the only
wouldn't
thing
even know
that
where to.
matters.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't know where to start. It's like being illiterate, and where do you even start? I have no idea. And how you don't even know the questions to ask.
Hmm.
Who was telling me earlier? Somebody sent me something earlier, and it was all computer talk. It's like a foreign language. I went, okay. What can I say? Okay. Well, we
Thank you
managed to
for
laugh.
having me. Yeah, we had a
Yeah.
good one.
Now
See you
everybody
on the
should
other
join us.
side.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everybody should
On
join us.
your membership. Yes.
Current events.
And you
Yeah.
also do consultations.
Oh, well, you write books. So there you go. Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Slongafoil. Slancha.